Bomba man, Steve Rastafari here. What's up YouTube? Coming at you full steam with another philosophy video. Prepared to have your mind blown once again. Let's get it on. This video is going to be about Plato's ideal city, which he calls Callipolis. You see, Plato was a pretty ambitious guy, and in his work called The Republic, he actually goes so far as to basically draft the constitution of what he thinks is the perfect or ideal city and explains how it should operate. Now he goes into a ton of detail and I could go on about it for hours, but you would hate me if I did that, so I'm going to break it down into the basics. Callipolis is divided into three classes: the guardians, the producers, and the auxiliary. Let's look at each one in turn. Alright, number one, and most importantly, Plato's ideal city is ruled by philosopher kings, which he calls the guardians. The guardians are naturally suited to this role of ruling. They're picked out at a young age and are given the best possible education in not only philosophy but also music, poetry, and physical training to ensure that they are all around superior to the rest of the people in the city, and they deserve to be in charge. The guardians represent the virtue of wisdom, and they rule in an entirely non-self-interested way, all their decisions based solely on rationality. So, the guardians, rulers, philosopher kings, wise men, in charge. Got it? Awesome. Moving on. Next up, Plato describes the common folk of Callipolis, who he refers to as the producers. It is their job to produce food, drink, clothes, tools, jewelry, basically all the goods. Now there are many different goods that the city will need, so the producers divide up the work amongst themselves, which allows them to specialize in their own crafts, ensuring good quality of all goods as well as efficiency in production, which means that the entire population of the city can be supported by all the goods they could ever need. The producers follow the laws made by the guardians, and in doing so, they represent the virtue of moderation, a virtue that Plato describes as acceptance of class. In other words, the producers are moderate because they accept that the guardians are their superiors and should rule, and they're confident that the guardians are doing their job well by making laws that are for the good of the city. Whoa, slow it down. That's a lot of information coming at you all at once. Let's take a little breather and clear our heads. Wake up! I'm not done. There's still one more class that we need to talk about. What's a society without an army? The army of Callipolis, Plato calls the auxiliary. It is their job to enforce the rule of the guardians over the producers, as well as to defend the city from attackers and fight in war in the event that Callipolis needs to expand. The auxiliary represents the virtue of courage, for obvious reasons. If you've been paying attention, you'll notice that we've talked about three virtues so far: wisdom, moderation, and courage. But anyone who's studied Plato will say, wait a minute, aren't we forgetting about justice? Justice is a virtue most addressed in Plato's Republic, as is the most difficult to define and has so many applications. As it pertains to Callipolis, however, justice can be defined simply as each class staying true to itself and not meddling in the affairs of other classes. Justice is what holds the whole system together. Without justice, Callipolis would collapse into civil war. So we've covered the three classes of citizens in Callipolis and how they work together, and we've talked about Plato's four main virtues: wisdom, courage, moderation, and justice, and how they're reflected in this system. Congratulations guys, we're halfway done. Smile. Wake up! That was just an appetizer. Now get yourself ready for the real meat and potatoes. Here's where things start to get weird. Plato thinks that the structure of this ideal city is the same as the structure of the ideal human soul. This is to say that the soul can be divided into three parts, just like the city can. Brace yourself now. There's a train coming at you. In the city, wisdom is reflected in the guardian class. In the soul, wisdom is reflected in the part called reason. According to Plato, the part of the ideal soul that governs over the rest of the soul is reason. It's like the nucleus of the soul, the part that is in charge, kind of like how the guardians are in charge of the city. Now, in the city, the guardians are in charge of the producers, whereas in the soul, reason is in charge of appetite. Appetite is the second part of Plato's ideal soul. Appetite is the part of the soul that seeks pleasure from things such as food, drink, and sex. The appetitive part of the soul is inferior to reason, as reason keeps it in check, just like how the producer class is inferior to the guardian class in the city. The virtue reflected in the appetitive part of the soul is moderation, because according to Plato, anytime you control your appetite, it is because your appetite accepts that reason is the boss. The third part of the soul is spirit, whose job it is to enforce the rule of reason over appetite, just as the auxiliary in Callipolis enforces the rule of the guardians over the producers. Do you ever slip up and eat a whole bag of chips and then get angry at yourself for letting your appetite get out of control? This anger is the manifestation of spirit in the soul. That's what this Plato guy says anyway. We're almost home. Last but not least, how does justice exist in the soul? Justice, again, is what binds everything together. When reason rules over the appetite, and anger is on the side of reason, then there is said to be justice in the soul. What? Wait, what? Oh! So yeah, that was kind of a lot of information to take in all at once, but I know you guys can handle it. Steve Rastafari here, thanking you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Remember, learn as much as you can about philosophy, because it makes you sound smart. One love. Peace. Some are speak the word and some are doing good deed. Don't you ever give up.